the FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg. A real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation is government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. So I had to say that it's terrible. Then it's a group within the FAA, another story, determined that the workforce was too white, that they had concerted efforts to get the administration to change that and to change it immediately.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA administrator, in this case, acting FAA administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, it should make sense to everybody, except for the diversity.
And Obama.
Yes.
Both of them. Okay, but Biden much worse. Not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways. Okay?
Mr. President, to be clear, are you saying race or gender played a role in this tragedy?
It may have. I don't know. Incompetence might have played a role. We'll let you know that. But we want the most competent people. We don't care what race they are. We want the most competent people, especially in those positions. And you're talking about extremely complex things. And if they don't have a great brain, a great power of the brain, they're not going to be very good at what they do, and bad things will happen.
Mr. President, there's
Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, she was inside that briefing. She's in the briefing room now. Mary, just 10 days into his presidency, Trump is taking on his first national tragedy and wasting no time bringing up diversity hires into the conversation here as a possible cause of this crash with no evidence at all. And you challenged the president on that.
I did, and Kira, I think it's important to be clear here that what we just heard from the president was a lot of speculation, but not a lot of answers or clarity into what actually caused this crash. He has suggested it may have been the air traffic controllers. He pointed to possibly the pilots of the helicopter, and repeatedly, yes, he suggested that diversity, equity, and inclusion programs may somehow have played a role here. Of course, in the week and a half that he has been in office, he has made clear that he is targeting these programs, trying to strip them away from the federal government. And I did ask him point blank, is he suggesting that diversity hiring is somehow to blame for this crash, and what evidence had he seen to suggest that? And he told me it just could have been. He admitted, quote, "We don't know," pressed again by another one of my colleagues here in the room as to how he could have been suggesting this was a diversity hiring issue, given that this is still an ongoing investigation and there's still so much that remains unknown. And the president said, it's because I have common sense. I think it's also important to note here that just a few hours ago, earlier this morning, his own new transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, said point blank everything was standard in the lead up to this crash. The bottom line, Kira, right now, we simply still do not know what caused it.
All right, so they're the mainstream media. They're not going to be genuine about anything. Yeah. I thought it was kind of reckless when he said what he said about DEI without knowing the facts.
But maybe he's privy to information you're not.
Exactly. So I did some research, and it's like, this blew me away. I didn't believe this. I had no idea there was a FAA lawsuit claims agency discriminated against air traffic controller applicants on the basis of race. I'm thinking, oh man,
they didn't let black people come air traffic controllers. Man, this is systemic racism.
No, but it's not that. The FAA allegedly added a question rewarding applicants for doing poorly on the test to get more African American air traffic controller applicants. And
Now,
there's
that sounds reckless.
so here's the video.
Our next guest is exposing the dangers of DEI hiring by collating a lawsuit against the Federal Aviation Administration for allegedly turning away qualified air traffic controllers based solely on race.
The lawsuit could set a new precedent and force companies to hire employees based on, shocking, their skills and nothing else.
Joining us now, former Nevada Attorney General and Mountain States Legal Foundation co-counsel, Adam Laxalt. Adam, great to see you. Explain how this,
Thanks for having me.
How this lawsuit works, because the FAA was using a quiz, in essence, or a questionnaire that locked out, according to the lawsuit, several thousand people indirectly based on their race. But Congress got rid of this questionnaire. So explain the harm now.
Yeah, so we represent nearly 1,000 people that were about to be air traffic controllers, and this is at the end of the Obama administration. They had done all the FAA schooling, which up till that time, for 2 decades, graduated. 100% of those people went on to be air traffic controllers. They passed the normal test, and then the Obama administration said that the class was too white. And so they threw out the test and threw out all these applicants with it. And that's the group of citizens that we represent. Their careers were derailed. Their lives have been upended. So it's important that we get justice for them. But obviously it's important that cases like this highlight that these practices were going on in the federal government, and they could still be going on in any agency in America, and especially when you're dealing with air traffic control. You know, I want to emphasize the Wall Street Journal just did a report a couple months ago that said that, you know, we're at 75% staffing for these air traffic controllers across the country. So when you travel and you have a delay, it's because there aren't enough of these people. When you see these near incidents in air traffic control, it's because there are not enough people. There are only 14,000 air traffic controllers. 1,000 were scrapped a decade ago. And the bottom line is they've never made up losing all of this pipeline. They can't make it up. And who knows the standards they're using now to try to fill that. But all Americans agree these have to be the best and brightest to keep us up.
Oh, we know how those standards are now.
That's crazy. They're that much understaffed?
Yeah. You know what's crazy? What's the date of this article? April 25th, 2024.
Wow.
So this is something that's been going on.
They've been understaffed for a long time. You get on Twitter, all you hear is liberals, man, they're understaffed because Trump's in office. He fired all these people, and now they got air traffic controllers having to do twice the work. But they've been understaffed since Biden administration.
Yeah, this well, it started under the Obama administration.
Right.
And
It's all safe.
Well, what gets me here is you're talking about a space, a part of the economy where people could lose their lives if a job is not done well. Healthcare is another space. Doctors. It's so regulated by the federal government. You could see the same kinds of policies, and we have in some ways, seep in there with the same kinds of risks. Obviously, your suit is precedent setting. What kind of precedent are you hoping to set with it?
We're suing under Title VII, which is back from the 1964. It is illegal to discriminate on the basis of race or gender in your hiring practices. That's the bottom line.
it's okay if you're white, though. That's why they turned them away. Watch
And
this.
the good news is the Supreme Court is trending this way. We feel that this case is a case that we're going to win. But if the federal government has to cave on this, certainly the whole of federal government is going to have to follow this, but it will apply to private companies. I mean, you see all this DEI stuff with Boeing, and is that the reason why they're having all these problems? You know, I guess we'll find that out with all these investigations, but it will have a huge impact across the board so that companies and our own government can simply do what's right, what should have been in place all along, which is hire on the base of merit.
Really quickly, Adam, you said that these air traffic controllers or potential were sidelined because they were white. In the discovery that you've done so far, do you have evidence that it's that blatant? Do they say that, or what do you have quickly?
Well, I can't disclose everything, but there's no question that the class was too white. They put a new test where
Obama
they
said it.
created a biographical test with the stated intent of adding more African Americans to the air traffic control applicant pool. And this is a shocking thing, but they wanted to add a test, a question that if you did poorly in math, then you would actually get extra points in this biographical test. Never mind how insulting it is that the
nuts.
government was concluding that this is a way to pull up African Americans into the air traffic control ranks. But that's all there. They did change the test to change the applicant pool.
Adam Laxalt, thank you so much.
So if you're black and you suck at math, they give you extra points? Yeah, I would laugh, but man, that is nuts. That is insane. So I've always said this, Keith. It scares me to death if black liberals running our country. That gives me the heebie-jeebies. Well, I want to bring up what happened in California with that chief of fire department chief. Yeah. That LGBTQ. And she made it a big thing, diversity, equity, inclusion. Right. And look, half the city burned down. Yeah. Right. And you look at what the Biden administration, the Obama administration has done. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're playing with fire here. Yeah. In both instances, both from they're more worried about diversity, equality, and inclusion, equity, inclusion. And then because of that, that's their priority. They're so understaffed because they got their priorities mixed up. Look, I mean, she was the LGBTQ. Pete Buttigieg is LGBTQ. Right, right. And like under his watch, we had that horrible train accident up in Ohio. Right, right. I think it's called Palestine, Ohio, something like that. Right. Remember that? Yeah, I remember that. So it's not far-fetched to think that the policies of the Biden administration, Obama administration, played some role in this. Yeah. 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 I understand why he said it. He shouldn't have said it, though, but I understand why he said it. Yeah, should wait for the facts to come out, but he knew something that we didn't. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. They give you extra points on the air traffic control test. Yeah. If you're black and your math sucks. And it's crazy. Not only that, they turn away white people. You know how expensive that school is? Millions of dollars. Well, look right here in the article. It was 1,000 people turned away. Yeah. So based on their race. Because they're white. Laxalt said the lawsuit represents nearly 1,000 people who went to school to become air traffic controllers, which for about 20 years until the end of the Obama administration, graduated 100% of the people who went on to work in their field. The individuals Laxalt represents passed the normal test right before the Obama administration said the class was too white and threw out the test with the applicants. Wow. That is nuts. The president said that. The president is a black supremacist. That's DEI right there for you. So, I mean, I still wish they hadn't said it. I wish it had came out of the end. Yeah. But he's just brutally honest. Yeah. Sometimes too much.